प्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मेस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om. May all my limbs attain strength. May the body, the mind, all the sensory and motor organs and the life force become strong, virulent, efficient. All is verily the one without second, blissful existence itself, the Brahman. May I never deny the truth of this one without second blissful existence, the Brahman. May the Brahman never reject me either because of my incompetence. May all the virtues necessary for realizing the Brahman as described by the Upanishads be with me. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel the oneness of everything in its essence. Let us feel each of us is like a wave on the infinite ocean of bliss. As a wave, I am born, I grow, I have union or clashes with other waves. And I start falling and fall. As a wave. This is my life. I harbor an ego that I am a unique, wonderful wave better than others. But truly, all of us are the one without second ocean. There is no entity as my own shape or form, because it is constantly shifting and changing. The infinite, blissful ocean is my true nature. To experience that is the goal of my life as wave. To know that I am ocean, infinite and blissful. As I see this, I know I am immortal. I have no desires because I am bliss itself. I have no enmity because I am all that is. Om, peace, peace, peace. So let us begin today's discussion of this great scripture, a Purana that through stories brings us the understanding of the goal of our life and also the various possible ways in which we can realize the goal. There is the end and the means. Both have to be properly connected so that we can realize this ultimate truth in our life. So this book Bhagavatam brings this to our life through very interesting stories. So Let us begin with our chant. This is 126th class today. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditaratashchartheshvabhinyasvarat tene brahmhridaya adikavaye मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. That from whom creation, sustenance and dissolution of the universe take place, who is both the instrumental and material cause of it, who is omniscient, is the only one having self-mastery, being the one independent entity, who illumined the mind of Brahma with the Vedic revelation, whose wisdom is the wonder of even the greatest sages, in whom the world of the three gunas subsists as the combination of materials like fire, water and earth subsist in their causes without changing their elemental nature, in whose consciousness there is nothing false. On that truth supreme we meditate. So sada nirasta kuhakam, the darkness gets dispelled by the realization of the self, that there is the light of knowledge everywhere. So that is the result of this realization. Last time we were seeing this beautiful hymn. They are called suktas in Vedas as well as in such literature. Sukta means said very well, to translate literally. Very well said. Su uktam. Su means that prefix denotes good, nice, and uktam means said. So this is the praise in praise of God. These beautiful hymns are composed, and this hymn specially brings about this nature of God, who is within as well as without. He is our true self. He manifests as all the various different objects in this world, and is beyond them as well. So this is a phenomena that is only given to Brahman or God, to be in everything and yet not within anything. It is like no other thing. Say this fellow is here, he is not there in Charlie. So, but the self is in all. So that is why this is called Hansa. This is a symbolic name in Vedas and Tantras for the self. So, like as the hymn of realization, and we chant in Narayana, Mahanarayana Upanishad, that Hansa Hansaya Vidmahe Paramahansaya Dhimahi Tanno Hansa Prachodayat, that the self realizes this self. Hansa Hansaya Vidmahe means what appears as an individual soul realizes the supreme truth, and by meditating on the Paramahansa, Paramahansa means is not identifying with a particular body and mind. We each of us identify ourselves in ignorance to a particular body and mind. A heap of flesh, blood, this, that I call as I, and identify with that. So, and it keeps on changing, and that is the fun of this heap. It is, you eat something, it changes. You release something, it changes. So it is all a changing heap of just matter, and that I call as I. And similarly, as a little subtler, that is called mind, that also is like that, changing. And this is what a Hamsa is. But when it looks into its true nature, then that is Paramahamsa. You realize that the I was not different here or there. That is one without second. This is very difficult to appreciate because we are so tied to our body and mind. My individuality. I am such and such. I am not like that. Everybody says sometimes we have the ego as to how bad I am, sometimes these goons, they threaten, don't think I am a good person, I am bad, there is ego about my being bad also, and not always necessarily good, bad too. We become egotistic about all these funny things. My height is so much, my weight is so much. Is it? No, I cannot be weighed. Body gets weighed, not I. So nobody can weigh I. How much is the weight of I? Nobody knows. Just imagine this example we have taken earlier as well, that if there is a reflection of sun in a pot of water, now there is the reflection. You can weigh the water. Can you weigh the reflection there? There is no weighing the reflection. And you cannot really find it also. That is why it is sometimes called the problem, of where is the consciousness. So many, because one cannot really find the locus of it or catch it, they say that it doesn't exist. But, well, you are seeing it, you are experiencing it. Even this I don't exist, you need an I to certify that. So, that is, cannot be just done away with. This soul or this self is. But when you investigate where that is, you soon realize, experience that it is not there, although appears there. So, this distinction is to be felt, appearance and reality. That which appears need not always be real. The magician makes a show. So many things appear, but they are not real. When you put them to test, then you see that they are not real at all. So many things we see as we see, but they are not there. The example, like we all see horizon. Now, because everywhere the big buildings are coming up, it is not always easy to see the horizon. But go to a little away in the countryside and you will see horizon. Everybody sees it. Is it actually there? It is not there, and therefore you can never catch it. So, similarly, this I cannot be caught. But you see that if you take your sight away from that pot of water and look up, now you see the reason where really the sun is. And with that you also realize that the same sun is getting reflected in millions of other such water bodies. Same sun. So similarly, just one has to think that I am like a little water pot, and the self is this sun, and that is seen in all. There is no change in it from here to there. So this idea is expressed through this imagery of Hansa. That Hansa is also, that word comes from Aham Saha, means I am that. Aham Saha means that, means I am that God. Ham Saha. So they repeat, therefore they call that as ajapa mantra. Goes on with the breath, so you don't make an effort to keep on repeating it. Ham saha, ham saha. Soham, I am that I am. So this mantra, as it were, is going on deep within with the breath. So with every breath, when we breathe in, we say Soham. When we release the breath, Saha. So this is Hansa. So this Hansa is being, that praised by this Daksha Prajapati, his hymn. That is what we are continuing with our study. And this is also he is praying to the God that has form also. It is our compulsion, a human compulsion, that when we think of something, it gets a form. Although we know that it is formless. For example, we think of, say, iron. Now, iron is an abstract thing, but when we think of iron, a piece means it has a form. A pot has a form. So whatever we can think of gets a form because of our that constitution of our brain. There is no escape from this. Although we all talk about impersonal God, there is no, it is a concept which is very good to have, impersonal, but also we should remember that as I go to think of it, it becomes personal, it gets also a form, that it becomes an image. That think of iron as abstract. No, you cannot. You will have a pot, a rod, a bar, or some shape will be there. So there is, it is good to know that the truth is beyond all forms. But when we try to grasp it, we grasp a particular form. So this is what is being described. That form is not God, but the God pervades that form, and in that sense that form is God. So, like our own forms, mm, that is not God exactly, but God pervades all of that. So this is being described here. Last time we saw that there is the changing world. Three words are used: Kshara, Akshara, and Purushottama. The three types of beings are described in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That the material objects, they are all continuously changing. But there is a relatively unchanging thing, that is the individual I, that it is called I, who somehow feels that I know those changes. I had gone to Europe, I had gone to China, I say all this, and now there is something that is unchanging. Therefore, one can relate to all these changes in time and space. So that is the relatively unchanging. But that also will go away when we see that the same I is actually in all, and that is the Supreme Being, which the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita calls Purushottamam. Dvavimau purushau loke ksharaschaksara eva cha ksharas sarvani bhutani kutastho uchyate. That it is all these objects that we see, all the forms, names, they are the Kshara Purusha. Means they keep on changing, and we see that change. So that seer of that change is considered to be relatively unchanging. But it also is the seer of one realm only. It is not the all-pervading reality. So the all-pervading reality, the self of all, that is called Paramahamsa, that is also here called Purushottama. Uttamah Purushastvanyah Paramatmeti Udarhatah Yo Lokatrayamavishya Bibharti Avyaya Ishwarah. That is how this 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita describes these three. So that it appears as everything. It fills all the three worlds, and yet is untouched by any of that. So it's everything is its expression, but it is not contaminated by any expression. So in this hymn he says that uh, salutations to thee who shinest in thy pristine state in a mind that has attained to extreme purity by the subsidence of all uh, perception and memory and the consequent arresting of the mental modifications that objectify names and forms or take shape as external objects. This is a very long sentence, but let us break it to understand. In our middle school grammar, we used to learn clause analysis. Clause analysis. Do you remember, Charlie, having learned clause analysis? That there are, so many clauses, sub-clauses, and so you have to see how they are connected, and then you come to the meaning of that word, clause analysis. Part in our middle school grammar used to be that. So let us analyze these clauses here, that it is um, the you shines in every uh, in a mind that has attained to extreme purity. That is one clause, that the one who has attained total purity, then you shine there. That is how one can realize God, purity of mind. It is therefore Jesus says that blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The purity of heart. And then how to attain that purity comes in the next clause. By one has to make efforts to get rid of the impurities. What are these impurities? Uh, by subsidence of all perception and memory and the consequent arresting of the mental modifications. Uh, See, the mental modifications, when you see something, there is a modification in the mind. It is called in Sanskrit vritti, means it is like a circle. It creates a vibration in us. That vibration, whatever, when we see the world, I and the world, everything that we see creates a vibration in us. It does not create a vibration when I am seeing the self all over. There is self alone. Then there is no vibration. When I see the variety, now I see A distinct from B. A has some features that B doesn't have, B has certain features that A doesn't have. So this is the vibrations arise to specify a particular object. And these modifications then, what happens? They create the attractions and repulsions. Certain things I love, certain other things I don't love. So I get repelled by some and I get attracted by some. That is how these vrittis or vibrations they have impact on us. So, and when they are not restrained, we get caught in them, and it is we are just pulled by their influence here and there. So that is how the modifications they become the cause of our bondage and the suffering that comes because of that. So it is described very beautifully by Patanjali in some of the aphorisms in the beginning of that it is you develop that attraction and repulsion. It is called tormentation. That first tormentation is not seeing the all-pervading truth. And then what happens next is because of that there is I and the world, asmita, avidya, asmita. Then the effect of this seeing the variety, I and the world, likes and dislikes, and they pull us towards or away from them. And why they are torments? It is if I like something and if I get pulled to it, what is wrong about it? The problem is what I like now, I don't like next moment. It keeps on changing, and that is why we get hit like a tennis ball from one court to another court. Hey, hey, hey. So it is like that, we become like a ball. The objects keep on hitting us one end to other end. Because what I like, I get attracted to that, and then I want that, I want that. When I get it, then I don't want. Like that your tennis racket goes to hit the ball, it is going towards the ball, but as long as it meets the ball flies away from it. So it is like that. The object we want and we don't want. That is how our psyche is. It is so that is why it becomes a torment. It is not a very pleasant experience to be a tennis ball being battered like that. So our life becomes like that, and that is why it is torment. And the the fifth of these, Patanjali describes, uh, we get used to it and don't want to give it up. Although we are suffering, we really don't want to give this up. And then, thus, the impurities keep on getting accumulated. That is the last clause here, that it is arresting of the mental modifications that objectify names and forms or take shape as external objects. When uh, you put out all these things, then the mind becomes pure. That is the meaning of purity of mind, that there are now no modifications, no object can excite me. There is, I am seeing the same thing in all, so no modification. Not A and B, but the same one reality that appears as A or B. So that is the subsidence of these modifications, and thus you become pure. And that pure mind now sees God, the truth. It further describes that it is what are these modifications, what is this variety? Uh, you are the one alone, and what appears is your own prakriti. Now, this is the Sankhya terminology used, Purusha and Prakriti, means the conscious principle and the material principle. In Sankhya philosophy, these are two principles. In Vedanta, they use the two words, but they are not really two. The one appearing as many. There is no two about it. Therefore, Vedanta scriptures like Upanishads, they are replete with these bold statements that neha nanasti kinchana. There is no multiplicity here. Seeing and holding that multiplicity to be real is ignorance. The Prakriti, Sankhyas, they hold it two to be both equally real, the Prakriti and Purusha. And so Prakriti is many. And so the Purushas also have to be many. It is, but it doesn't change. Now it creates so many logical contradictions in Sankhya philosophy that if they are many, then how they become many? What are the many in Purushas? When you try Purusha here and Purusha there, now here and there they are not actually the epithets or qualities of Purusha. You are describing Prakriti. It is, if you say that the sun reflected in this pot and in that pot, now that is not the variety in sun, that is the variety in pot and water, not the variety in sun. So Vedantins completely refuse the idea of multiplicity of the Atman, and when you drop this, the Prakriti also then kind of disappears. There is no locus for Prakriti either. It is then the appearance of the same one being. It is, this is very much held on to in the practices of the Tantra, Kashmiri Shaiva Tantras, and all they very much hold on that both is the same one Lord. Whether you see the multiplicity or you see the one, doesn't matter. It never becomes, never changes. It is the nature of God to appear as this. There is a very sublime treatise by Dhyaneshwars, small one called Changdev Pasashti. It is a letter written by Dhyaneshwar, Saint Dhyaneshwar to one great this yogi in the sense he was performing those yogic practices because of which he could live long life. So when he at Dhaneshwara's time, Dhaneshwar was about just 16 years old, and Changdev was 1400 years old. Well, he was living, but then after living such so long a time, because of his yogic powers, he could subdue many things and would therefore continue to live. But he was feeling emptiness. What did I do of these 1400 years? So he heard about Dhyaneshwara. And Dhyaneshwars, that he showed that the same self is in all by making a buffalo also recite the Vedic mantras. So it is, so he was very much interested in meeting this Dhyaneshwara to know what the truth is. So he started writing a letter, but could not really phrase what he wanted to, how to address Dhyaneshwar. So thought about it for quite some time. The letter was not proceeding ahead at all. So he just sent the empty paper. The just blank paper was sent there. So, so Dhyaneshwar, when he got this, he replied to that letter that, see, swasti shri vateshu zo laponi davu jagadabhasu, that it is, he salutes the chosen deity, what is called the Ishta of Changdev, that is Vatesh, a form of Shiva, that is in the form of a banyan tree. So Swasti Shri Vateshu. And after saluting him, he describes what is that really, who hides and shows this whole panorama of universe, infinitely many things, changing, running about, so many events happening. It is actually all that one divine principle When that divine principle appears, then this panorama goes away. When you see that one principle, that many things go away. When you see the many, the one does not come there, that does not appear there. This is a very beautiful principle. I told you an incident that I was going to one devotee's home here close by in Warwick. So, and then when I went near the house, I wanted to back the car in their driveway. So I started backing and then saw a dog there. I thought, let that dog go and then I will back. And then realized that the dog, that fellow is not moving. Then I headed out and saw that it was a stone, dog made of stone. Now when I saw that it is stone, that dogness vanished. When I was seeing it as dog, the stoneness was not being seen. So that is how it is, that when you see God, this multiplicity disappears. When you see this multiplicity, then that God disappears. So it is that his Dhyaneshwars letter further says that when it is becoming many, actually nothing is happening. बहुत जव जव होए तव तव काहीच न होए. That when you see that it is so many things are coming into being as it were, actually nothing is happening. It is, yeah. So it is, nothing is happening, like our Abhijit is seeing dream. Nothing is actually happening. It is. So, but he is you seeing so many things there in this dream. This is this. So, without anything happening, kahi nahoniya he avaghachi jo. Very beautiful words. That without anything happening, that God is everything. So all this is just manifestation of God. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the magic and the magician. The magician is real, the magic is not real. So it is, he further continues here that thou art a transcendental spirit, ever steeped in eternal bliss, negating the diversities of relative existence produced by Maya, but being the possessor of the innate power Maya that baffles all definitions. Thou art also all manifested beings having names and forms. May that Sri Hari be propitious unto me. Now this is not so long a statement, but fairly long, that the God who a devotee prays with the name Hari or Shiva or Rama or whatever. Now that Hari is what? That all this panorama that you see, that Hari alone is. And may that Hari be propitious to me, bless me, so that I go beyond this state of ignorance. So, it is all this, you are beyond all names and forms, yes, yet appear in every name and form. Every name is really God's name, every form is really form of God. So therefore, there is a very nice story that everywhere there is the God. There is this story is attributed to many different people, different saints, that one saint was resting in a Shiva's shrine, and then one devotee came there who used to worship there every day, and saw that this man has kept his foot on the emblem of Shiva. What a terrible sacrilegious act! And he terribly with great anger, indignation, he scolded this saint left and right, and told it, remove that. This saint said that, well, I am now very old and very weak. I don't know how to move my foot. Can you help me by moving my foot where there is no this emblem of Shiva, Shivalingam, where it is not? Please put my foot there. And then he said, okay, I can help you. So he lifted the foot of this man and then tried to put somewhere, and there appeared a Shivalingam there. He tried to put it at some other place, there again another Shiva's emblem appeared. And so he tried in placing at different spots, but everywhere. Then he realized that it was Shiva himself who has appeared to show him that God is not only in a particular place but everywhere. The same divine is everywhere. So that is how, when that divine comes to us, propitiates us, we start seeing this truth of the omnipresence of God. So it is therefore expressed in this way that uh, in all these so-called happening, it does not affect you. It is your Maya. Sri Ramakrishna used to give that beautiful analogy that because the question comes, if this Maya is always with God, God also is bound by Maya. No, Sri Ramakrishna would say, no, God has Maya, but he is not bound by it. He is the master of Maya. Like the snake has poison in it, but the snake doesn't die because of that poison. When that snake bites somebody, then that fellow dies because of the poison. So, God is not getting affected by the Maya, he is master of Maya. So, he is therefore called Mayadhish, and we are already, means the master of Maya. We all beings are called Mayadhin, means subject to power of Maya, Mayadhin. So it is, he says, that is how the situation is. So you are all the manifested beings, their controller, but remain unaffected by what they do. This question comes up when God is in all of them. Then, so God does everything. Yes, God does everything. So whatever bad I do, that also is done by God, isn't it? So we are good at shifting the blames. I didn't do it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I didn't do it. Because we don't want the blame. I told that incident. I am not telling the complete this thing of it, but we had when this hall was getting constructed at the end, almost the construction was all over, and then there were some problems that cropped up suddenly. And then a meeting was called by the architect that, why this happened? Ah, and one of our devotees, he was member of the our construction committee then. He came, he was at some other work, and so he came there with somewhat not very nice looking, this is attire. But he had a very curious shirt put on. It said, I did not do it. I did not do it. And that architect said, today we all need these shirts, I didn't do it. So it is. So this is, God doesn't do anything and yet does everything. Doesn't get affected by whatever I do. The blame never goes to God. It is this is something, neither credit nor blame goes to God. It is thus he is not to be blamed. He does everything, but not in that sense. It is the sun, because of the sun shines, you see various objects. Now somebody does some thieving in the light of the sun. That sun is not responsible for that. Somebody does some very good work, that also sun is not responsible. So therefore, that is how the God's doing is. Now, in this hymn it is said that it is there are ways in which thou gets, perceived by devotees. They look upon you by two different ways. One is the Jnana Yoga, means this, the path of not this, not this. Finding the God through this process of negation. This is not this, this is not this is elimination process. That it is like the in medical practice, it is said, okay, let us see, let us rule out this possibility, let us therefore go and do this particular test. Okay, so let us rule out this, rule out this, rule out this, and then found this culprit. Right, this is the problem. So that is how this Jnana Yoga process is like that. Sri Ramakrishna described it as that, how he followed this, that look, I saw whatever is born dies. A blade of grass came up, stayed for some time, died. An ant was born, died. A dog was born, died. A human being was born, died. So this is not God. This is not God. So I see therefore that all forms, since they come into being, they also meet death. So that cannot be the true nature of God. So thus you go beyond all forms, and that is how you try to you catch the truth. This is quite a difficult in itself if you practice this. Our human constitution, normal human constitution, where we are identified with body, it becomes very difficult to follow this path. As Bhagwan Sri Krishna says in reply to Arjuna's question, avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavad bhiravapyate, that those who are identified with body, for them this kind of path of negation is not possible. But that doesn't mean that it should be completely excluded. It should be used, but along with this other path, bhakti, bhakti yoga. This is God. Everything is God. Iti. That this is actually in its true nature, it is God. So hold on to God. Choose what is called Ishta Devata, means your chosen ideal, and then hold on to that form. So that form then takes you gradually towards that realization. So as he was chanting that hymn, Lord appears before Daksha. And then there is a beautiful advice that Lord gives to Daksha. Daksha is having a motive in that all these prayers and spiritual practices or the austerities that he performed. So, and then God knows that, understands that, and then he is now telling Daksha about these. So we shall take it up next Friday. Today let us conclude with our regular closing hymn, chant, and then if you have any question, you can ask after that. निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुर्हो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः. O devotees, quaff to intoxication this nectar of the fruit of the tree of Vedas, flowing from the mouth of the great sage Shuka and mixed with the ambrosia from his words. Any questions? Yes, Charlie?
It seems to me that there are two gods, or two aspects of God. There's one without a second, which is just pure oneness, and then there's the God in the universe that controls everything. Can you comment on that?
Well, these are two aspects, no doubt, but that doesn't mean there are two gods. It is the same when you look like this or like that. It is the same one thing. Like I will look upon Charlie from the front or from the back. They are not two Charlies, but they will look different, So it is something like that. The all-pervading God, one principle, you do not see the variety. Or you see the variety, but know that it is the God who appears in all this. So it is like the shirt you are wearing. So it is just the yarn, the threads put together. So then that put together in a particular way, it is, you call it a shirt, but it is just the yarn, the threads. Yeah.
Swamiji, you said Soham and Hamsa.
Yeah.
So where does Ahimsa come from?
Oh, that is a completely different root, you see. Himsa, it is not Hamsa there. It is Hingsaha, it is Hinsa. Means to be jealous of somebody, to think bad about somebody, and therefore go to injure somebody. That is called Himsa. That is not coming from any of these words. Yeah. Any question? No. Okay. Oh.
So, purity of mind, how every day should one work on that? And is it like, I know meditation that's one way to work on it. But are there any, like, from day to day, moment to moment, can you
Yes,
give us some?
every moment, it is the meditations, worships, chanting, repetition of mantra, and that should actually permeate in our day-to-day living. Mm. It is our Swami Ranganathanandaji used to give us such a beautiful analogy that when you are meditating or praying, you are as it were manufacturing that awareness that God alone is real. Now, after that, you have to distribute it in your actions. Mm. Like there is a manufacturing unit, but there is no distribution associated with it. That manufacturing will stop. If it is just lying there. So there has to be for the two together. So you meditate, and as you meditate, that awareness that God alone is real. Now, whenever you are doing any work, one has to remember this, that it is, I am doing this, but it is all God alone is real. These are all like waves. Ocean alone is the reality behind that. Uh, See, that is why the lives of sages is so important. Uh, in Sri Ramakrishna's life, you see that he is going here and there, talking to this person, talking to that person, but uh, he is seeing that it is all God that is appearing in so many forms. When Krishna was playing with, say, gopis, now how was his awareness? And how was the awareness of gopis? They were all seeing themselves as the images of Krishna. In the many mirror, that a mirror suppose gets cracked, that is how this Bhagavatam text describes it. That a mirror is cracked, and now a child sees his own many images in that broken mirrors. So, so that is how each gopi is being seen as my own self by Krishna. So, we have to see that in every action, we that I am in that form. Just as I am in this form, I am in that form also. That and so the outer expression of that needs to be curbed. Therefore, is do not get upset or angry with anybody, because it is you. So do not feel jealousy about anybody. Mm. This is a day-to-day practice, as you had asked, that do not condemn anybody. It is, this is the practice that gradually illumines us. That we, as Holy Mother used to say, do not find faults, my child, if you want peace. It is, go to find fault of somebody, invariably you disturb your peace. So, this is a day-to-day, every minute practice, you see. Right. Thank you. So let us conclude with the no questions up, as I told. Mukund Madhav Govind Bol, Keshav Madhav Hari Hari Bol. Mukund Madhav Govind Bol, Keshav Madhav Hari Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol. Krishna Krishna Bol, Krishna Krishna Bol. Krishna Krishna Bol, Krishna Krishna Bol. Mukunda Madhava Govinda Bol. Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol. Keshava Madhava Hari Hari Bol.